Hey everybody, welcome to the Musician's Mentor Podcast. I'm your host Travis Mark, and today I had a really fun interview with my good friend Erin Coburn. Erin Coburn is a singer-songwriter, monster guitarist from Cincinnati, Ohio, but she's getting out all over the place, and I'm gonna go on record and say, mark my words, she's going to be a household name within the next 3 years. She's probably already a household name among a lot of people, but I met her when we played together at the Cigar Box Festival down here in New Orleans back in January. But she's all over the place. Seriously, go check her out, erincoburn.com. As usual, please leave us a rating or review if you're enjoying these. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only, Erin Coburn. All right, Erin Coburn, thank you so much for joining us on the Musician's Mentor Podcast. How you doing?
Doing great. Super glad to be here.
Woohoo! All right, we're going to jump straight into it. And what I typically do with every guest I have is I ask them to just give us a formal introduction as to who you are, what you're currently up to, and what you've done. And I will still do a introduction post the interview, but this is just so our listeners kind of know where you're coming from rather than me telling them what they should know.
Absolutely. Well, hi, my name is Erin Coburn. I am a Cincinnati, Ohio-based artist, but I tour and travel all around the United States, hopefully Europe soon. But I grew up playing the blues. I started playing guitar when I was 7 years old, and I've been playing it ever since, and I absolutely love it. But yeah, I grew up playing the blues and was known as a blues artist. I'm breaking more into rock recently and kind of playing around with that. But I've opened for artists such as Marcus King, Government Mule. Yeah, Government Mule, some bigger names. And it's been a wild ride. And I also run a recording studio in Cincinnati, Ohio called The Coop. And I do my own engineering, mixing and mastering on my albums. And yeah, I've got 3 albums out and I'm working on the 4th right now.
And let's kind of go back here a little. So 7 years old, how did you decide guitar? Like, was somebody in your family into guitar? Was there a guitar lying around, you picked it up and was just like, oh well, this is my thing? What happened there?
Yeah, so when my mom got my dad a guitar for their anniversary, before I was even born, like one of their wedding anniversaries, and when I was 2, I found that guitar in the corner somewhere because my dad was not playing it, and I claimed it as my own. So I don't really say I started playing when I was 2 because it was just a bunch of noise, but that's kind of what introduced me. I found this strange giant acoustic guitar in my own living room when I was 2, and I was like, wow, this is incredible. There's videos of me playing that acoustic guitar, kind of like an upright bass, because it was so much bigger than I was. And it was funny. I'll have to find that, but yeah, that's kind of how that got introduced to me. Guitar was, but my parents also always had like Prince on the TV, like on DVD, and like Joe Satriani. Like, it was a big one. I was so just like in awe at Joe Satriani, and as a young child, I thought he was just incredible. And so I guess that's kind of what brewed the guitar player.
And now, not to jump ahead too far, even though I'm probably jumping ahead too far, didn't you land up playing with Joe in Vegas or something last year? I think I saw a picture.
Yeah, I didn't get to play with him, but I was at the G4 experience, and I was able to watch him play and learn a lot from him, which was just extraordinary. It was a dream come true. So it was like a full circle moment.
Oh man, you'll play with him eventually. I guarantee it. After seeing you guys and your band at that cigar fest, I have zero doubt you're gonna be you're gonna be one of the guitar heroes. It's just a matter of time. You just got to keep doing your thing. It's gonna happen. I don't doubt it for a second. So
I appreciate that.
Okay, so in doing my research, you recorded your debut album at 14.
I think so. It was 12. I think it's 13. I think I recorded when I was 13. 14, yes.
Okay, so I mean that's crazy young. I mean, obviously back in the day, you hear stories about like artists like Michael Jackson recording at 5 and things like
Yeah.
that. But while we have Instagram and there's a lot of like these like young viral musicians and stuff, a lot of them, at least again from a stereotypical point of view, a lot of them aren't working on records and stuff yet at that sort of age.
Yeah.
So talk us through where your head was at that age, because obviously you've learnt a lot since then. But I would just love to, if you think you can remember, tell us what you were thinking. Like, were you just doing it from a, I'm going to just make some music and put it out there? Or were you doing it from a, like, were you already thinking about trying to be an artist and getting your songs played? Were you wanting people to listen to them? What was your mindset?
Yeah. So I was in, I think, high school, or maybe I think it was coming out of middle school when I was recording this album. And um, I my original plan, like for at least a career wise, was to be a neurobiologist, because I loved the show The Big Bang Theory, and Amy Farrah Fowler was my favorite like character, and she was a neurobiologist in that show, and I thought that was the coolest thing ever. So that was my original plan. Music wasn't even like thought of as far as like full-time job. But this was like the transition kind of, besides my guitar teacher was bringing me to his shows as well, and like that kind of was like opening my eyes at like, wow, you can make money from this and like, you know, live off of this. This is kind of wild. And you get to connect with people while you do it. That's even cooler. So I guess like the album was the turning point when I really buckled down professionally, I think, because I was having, you know, I was going to shows and playing shows with my guitar teacher, my mentor, and getting a couple of my own shows and playing open jams and stuff a lot. But the album is definitely what opened that up. And I had a good group of musicians with me. At the time, I was learning a lot from them. I had found them at open jam sessions. And so they were the ones I went into the studio with, along with my mentor too, my guitar mentor. And it was definitely a learning experience. Like my headspace with that album versus like the other ones was really different. I guess every album, it was really different because I was growing up as I was recording them. But yeah, I was learning. It was more like a learning experience to me. It was something different, you know, like here, like expressing yourself on stage, even as like a young artist, is so different than like someone saying, all right, express yourself and, you know, on a recording, you know, like there's no audience to connect to. You have to kind of get in a different headspace. So it was definitely a different experience. And I think, you know, I was thinking a lot about who I wanted to be and like who I wanted to sound like versus like who I was. Cause you know, when you're that young, like you don't think about who am I right now, you know, and like am I being true to who I want to be versus, you know, you see so many cool people that are living your dream, like you want to be exactly them, you know, copy paste. So I think I was definitely fighting that when I was recording that album, but I mean it was a different experience recording the first album when I was that young. So yeah.
Yeah, and different headspace, like you say, you know. I think thinking back to being that age, I was thankfully playing as well. I wasn't making albums. I think I made the first band I was in. We recorded our first album. I think I was 16. But awesome. Same thing, you know, like listening back to that now, when I do, which is not very often, I got to be honest. But when I do, I sometimes think I can totally hear where I was stealing my influences from, you know.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
and I think to touch on something you just spoke about, it's like when you start realizing that you can find your own voice, it's such a cool feeling. It always kind of really interests me, like, because you start finding this voice and you try and put it out there. And when I say voice, I'm not talking about the singing voice for listeners. I'm talking about like your artistry, who you're trying to be, what you're trying to put out. But the funny thing for me, when you do that, especially if it's not instantly comparable, people go, oh, you know, I don't know if I like it because of this, or, oh, I like it because it sounds like that. And it's like, it's weird. You're trying to do your own thing. You're not trying to be somebody else anymore, you know?
Exactly. Even when you make EPK kits, I mean, people want to know, what do you sound like? And you have to list like 5 or 6 bands, but you know, it's hard doing that, especially when you're trying, like you said, you're trying to be, you know, original and authentic. I mean, I guess nothing is really original in this world, but like the way you blend things together creates an entirely something, new.
Completely. It's like a
Yeah.
stew or a soup, you know?
Yeah, yeah, and I know you said it's not about the voice; it's about like finding the artistry. But I actually recently started taking some new vocal classes for like harder rock metal vocals,
Yeah.
and that's a really hard thing to do. It's so different than like like classical training. Like I had some classical training and like soul training in singing, like vocal techniques and stuff, but now I'm going to this harder rock like metal side of things too with vocals. And what they always stress is your voice is never going to sound like Corey Taylor, or never going to sound like any like Maria from what is that band?
I know who you're talking about. I
Yeah,
can
from
picture
in
her.
this moment.
Yeah,
In this
that's it.
moment.
Yeah.
Yes. Like you can't, like, especially with these vocals, because like the way that you have to move everything that's going on in your body, like anatomically, is like not gonna match someone else's body. And so it's I think I'm back in the stage where I have to keep accepting, like, okay, this is my voice. How can I make this shine versus trying to cover it up and, like paint another picture on top of it?
Yeah.
It goes, along with everything that you do in the music industry. And as an artist, you're always trying to either convince yourself to be someone else, or like really hone in on, what you're trying to get across, and just accept, the tools that you have.
Totally. And I think, just to completely butt in here, I think for anyone listening, like something I've learned along the way is like, it's not a bad thing to be different, You don't have to be like everybody else. And like you just said, if you can accept that and understand that it's okay that not everybody's into what you do, that's totally cool. Because for like, it's no different to like relationships and friendships and stuff. You're going to find people who like you. You're going to find people who don't. Sometimes people gel, sometimes they don't. Music's no different. You're going to put something out there. Somebody's going to love it. Somebody's going to hate it. It's like, you really see it on the big scale with like some of these pop artists, because like you look at someone like Taylor Swift, for example, and there's always like, I always just see so much hate online, like when she puts something out, and it blows my mind. But then you have to realize that for that percentage of hate that's kind of aimed towards her, there's also a much larger percentage of love. So it's like, it's going to be no different for any artist. It just depends on your level where you're at, the percentage of what that's going to be,
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, different people connect with different things. So
exactly. Yeah. So tell us about some of the biggest challenges or the hardest challenges you've had to face so far, especially at your age, in regards to trying to get out there and being taken seriously as an artist.
Yeah. Well, that those challenges started like the moment I was performing out live. When I was a young female artist playing the blues, which there's not a lot of young females playing the blues. I mean, there's definitely some great ones, but there's not, compared to the men in the industry. There's really not a lot.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of struggles that come with that, and a lot of obstacles to overcome, and a lot of them are mental. But no, I mean, I had a lot of people saying like, "Oh, like you can't play guitar," or I get the compliment, well, not even compliment, but the compliment in quotation marks, "Wow, you play really good for a girl," like all the time. I still get that, but when I was younger, that used to like throw me for a loop, man. I was like, what do they mean by that? Like, I don't get it. It was always so strange, and that's always been an obstacle. Even now, I've had labels reach out to me. Recently, and some of them say like, "Oh yeah, we like," they just come out and say, "Yeah, we need a woman on the roster." I'm like, okay, is that all? Is that why you're reaching out? Because there's like a lot of women on this earth. But there's still those struggles as far as that goes. But I think, and then just being a young artist too, like breaking out into shows, a lot of people think, oh, you have to pay to play. And I've never paid to play a show. And I definitely want to keep it that way, because I think, I don't know, I'm not a fan of that because especially like getting respect, like in your hometown too. When I was younger, I had the hardest time getting respect with some of the societies that were, music societies in my hometown. they just wouldn't support me, and I had no idea why. They were always supporting the same exact people, like whether, especially like blues, they were always supporting the same exact blues artists and never supporting young up and coming blues artists because it wasn't traditional. And that's another thing I've struggled with. And that's why I've kind of gotten out of the blues, or at least calling myself a blues artist, because so many people are like, if I play, if my guitar tone is too distorted, or it's too high tempo, they'll be like, oh, that's not blues, or that doesn't sound like traditional blues. But there's a lot of like gatekeepers
Yeah.
when it comes to genres, and that's why I've chosen rock, because it's kind of helped me overcome those obstacles of people like constantly trying to put a box around everything that I put out there. So now it's helped me overcome that obstacle. But those have been some of the biggest obstacles that I've kind of tried to overcome throughout the years of being an artist and being a musician. So, but yeah, I mean, once we left Ohio, like left Cincinnati, and I played my first out of town gig, it was crazy. The response that we got that wasn't in my hometown when I was younger. And then I came back to my hometown and it was an even better response because we left. So I don't know how that how that happened or why that was, but yeah, those were some of the things that I had to get over mentally too. Cause I'm like, man, like why is this happening? And why aren't people supporting, but
Yeah, it's super weird, because like that seems to be a pattern with a lot of people I've spoken to over the years, and it's almost like you've got to leave to come back to be celebrated.
Yes.
It's like the moment you've started to make a name for yourself or do something. It's not just musicians; it's anybody. It's like, so and so wants to go and be an actor, and they leave their hometown, go to Hollywood, and become a star, and then suddenly that whole town names a street after them, and there's a day dedicated to them, and you go like, man, look at Van Gogh. He's such a great example. It's like, most people would never afford a piece of his art now, but this guy was starving and almost homeless and riddled with mental issues when he was alive. It's crazy,
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, so I have to ask about this because I met your folks backstage at the Cigar Box Festival. And it instantly took me back. When I was a kid playing music, and please don't take that in a condescending way. I'm not trying to say that about
not
you.
at all.
But when I was I was gigging at like 15, 16. And typically you weren't allowed to get into the venues. So my folks had to take me. And I would have to sit outside, and then I was allowed to go in and play. And then the moment I finished playing, I had to come back out. And like talking to your mom, I didn't get to talk to your dad that much, but talking to your mom, it instantly reminded me of that situation. So I want to talk a little bit about how important do you think it is to have supportive parents when you are trying to become a musician? Because not everybody has that luxury. And secondly, how has having their support helped you try and navigate so far in this super crazy industry?
Yeah. So I do think having supportive parents, or at least like friends, just having someone in your court, because this industry, like nothing is regulated. So you can get screwed over super easily. You can, overthink tons of things. There's always that question, like, am I doing the right thing? And having someone, whether it's your parents or a sibling or like a friend, like they're saying like, you've got this, like you're doing the right thing. Like, I really appreciate what you're doing in this industry, helps tremendously. And, for me, it was my parents, and and it still is. And they're amazing. Like, I don't know what I would do without them because they've helped so much. I mean, my dad just helped me build my recording studio. Like he built out the walls and did the soundproofing and stuff. And I could not be more grateful to him because that's opened so many doors for my career. But having supportive someone really, really makes a difference. What was the second question?
You've pretty much covered it, but I was going to say, how has it helped you like navigate, like having that support? How has it helped you navigate your career so far?
Yeah. I mean, it just goes back to that whole like second guessing thing. Am I doing the right thing? And they've been big and saying, yeah. I mean, look at all these people. Like my mom always reminds me, she's like, look at all these people that you've connected with. And like, yeah, like you're right. And it's never the question that I'm asking, like, oh, should I quit? It's just the question, like, am I doing this to the best of my like ability? Like, am I really performing like the best I possibly can? So yeah, they've been great when it comes to that.
Amazing. Good on you, Mr. and Mrs. Coburn. Woohoo.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about your band members. How did you guys all meet? And I know you're on the road a lot. So how do you kind of keep awareness when it comes to everybody's need for their personal space, especially when you're spending that much time together?
That's a good question, because I can get really annoying on the road. Well, okay, so the people that travel with me the most, so I swap out some of my bass players because sometimes they have things they have to do, and one of them was going to school, so I had to get a couple, in the stable. My main bass player is Tim. He is just crazy good, and he's actually a drummer too, so he's got a good pocket going on. Tim Garner, and I met him like, I don't even know. This is probably totally wrong, but like 7 months ago, I think, like, or 8 months ago, I don't know. Pretty recently. Maybe, I don't remember. Maybe it was a year ago. I think it was a year. I don't know. I can't keep things straight, but I met him pretty recently. And he's just been fantastic. He's great to travel on the road with. He's got a positive outlook on everything. He helps my drummer like set up. He's also like drum teching too. So it's great. My drummer has been with me for like 6 or 7 years, I think.
That's cool.
A long time. And he's also my best friend in the whole wide world. Brandon Pettiford. He's amazing. But yeah, he's he also has a really positive outlook on everything. And, we lived together for 4 months in Cleveland. We were, when the pandemic struck, we were studying at a recording studio and learning Pro Tools and how to mix and master together. So we lived together for 4 months. So we actually got that whole balance of not annoying each other down pretty well, because it changes when you live in the same house. But I always say that our van that we tour in is like our little house on wheels too. Like, we don't sleep in there, but we're in it for so much time. So, it feels like we're all living together. But yeah, I mean, as far as keeping a good attitude and like making sure that we all like respect each other's personal space, I think we do a pretty good job of that. Headphones are really, really good at at helping that. Like, when we get in the van, we'll just put our headphones on, usually for like 4 or 5 hours, and then when we need to talk to each other, we'll come out of there and we'll play like Evil Apples. I don't know if you've ever played that game, but
no.
It was so much fun. It's kind of like Cards Against Humanity, but like much more inappropriate. So it makes for really, really fun car rides with lots of laughs. But yeah, and then my mom, she drives, so I constantly annoy her, but she plays the Evil Apples with us too, but not while she's driving, but and it's fun. But we keep a good balance as far as social time and quiet time in the van. Except when caffeine comes on board, then it's just super loud. But again,
are you all caffeine drinkers, or is one party more guilty than the other?
Well, Tim, our bass player, drinks like the Celsiuses quite a bit. Like, he usually pounds energy drinks, but it doesn't make him like wild, which is nice. Brandon doesn't really drink caffeine as much, and is not affected by it. I, on the other hand, am the problem person of the van. I will load up on matcha. I'm obsessed with it. I love matcha.
Yeah,
so we try to go to these it's the best. And like, so we try to go to these coffee shops, and I try to find like the best like unsweetened matcha with coconut milk. Oh, and that just lights me up like a firework. And the volume level of the van goes up, the energy level goes up. Everyone's just like screaming. It's a good time. Yeah.
Do you allow your mother to wear like sort of isolating earphones there?
Oh yeah, she has her own headphones too.
Yeah,
so if I get
she's doing a great job.
She's incredible. She drove 18 hours in one day from Texas to Cincinnati, because I think it was during like the pandemic, so, or like when it was coming in, so we had to like our shows got canceled. We had to drive back, so 18 hours in one day. It was ridiculous.
That's
like,
amazing.
Professional drivers don't even do that, but
yeah.
Yeah, she's incredible, and she does have noise canceling earbuds that are her saving grace when it comes to caffeine in the band.
What are some of your kind of road / touring tips? So you got any do's or don'ts, wills, won'ts, eat this, don't eat this? What do you guys, or what do you in particular, what do you do to stay healthy on the road, etc., etc., etc.?
Absolutely. I'm a huge advocate for health and like mental health and also like physical health, but how those two things kind of coincide. I definitely believe that what you eat will, make you feel either great or not good. So, and also make you put on a good show or not a good show. Um, so I took I was studying under Judy Stakey for a little bit, and she's like a songwriter that worked with Katy Perry a lot.
Yeah, I know who she is. Yeah,
awesome. And so she was, stressing the importance of, if you eat right, you're going to write great songs. If you eat right, you're going to put on great performances. If you eat, not so good, you're not going to feel good, so you're not going to write good stuff or perform good things. So I totally believe that. So when we're on the road, we don't normally eat out at like fast food restaurants. Like I don't go into McDonald's. I don't go to Wendy's. Just not my vibe. So I try to find like local local coffee shops and local businesses or sandwich shops and stuff. Because one, we get to support local businesses, and two, they usually have like a lot of like much healthier like homemade things on their menus. So and that honestly, like I've seen a difference in, if we do have to eat somewhere unhealthy, I've seen a difference in like the performances with me and my band. But yeah, that's one of the big things is trying to stay on top of it as far as eating healthy, and not just like salads, but like, healthy fats and all that stuff. I could go into it, but
oh yeah, no,
I'm a geek when it comes to that.
Me too, unfortunately. Yeah. I think it's just there must be something in like the musician or the creative brain that like, I don't want to use the word obsessive, but like when something interests you, and and this might be for everybody, but I typically talk to musicians more than anything else, and it's like we definitely seem to get like really into something. You're into something and you want to know everything about it, and you want to know who started it and why this works like this and blah blah blah. At least that's how I've always been too. So it's like I get it with the food thing, pretty similar, So
absolutely. Yeah, obsessive is a great word for it. I mean, my parents call me that all the time, so I can relate to that. Yeah, we travel with a hula hoop sometimes too, and I bring. What did I bring last time? I brought like booty bands and stuff, like the resistance bands.
Yeah.
So sometimes when we get out at rest stops, or we have a football too. We have a football. When we get out at rest stops, we'll like throw the football and like just try to get active and play around a little bit, because it's so nice being out in the fresh air.
Yeah, and also like sitting for 18 hours isn't exactly helpful for anybody,
No, definitely not.
What about like any disastrous road stories? Can you tell us any?
Ooh, let me think about that.
That can be from either a performance point of view, a gear breaking point of view, a van breaking down point of view, took the wrong turn and ended up in the wrong city point of view. It can be anything,
Definitely. Let me think about this. Lately, things, knock on wood, have been pretty smooth. Good. But I do remember, I've told this story a couple of times, but when I was opening for Marcus King in Michigan, it was Kalamazoo State Theater, I'm pretty sure. And this is back when I used to wear dresses and heels, like when I played shows, and I don't do that stuff anymore. Because I can't move around and without, having a wardrobe malfunction or trying to worry about all that stuff and blah, blah, blah. But anyway, so this is back when I wore dresses and heels on stage, and I was ripping a guitar solo, and my heel got caught on my dress, and I like went down, like it was like boom, like hard on the stage. You hear the whole audience like, and it was like a really big audience. Like there were so many people, and my band, they kept playing because like we're trained to do this.
Good stuff, band. I mean, no disrespect, but good band.
Exactly. I was like, I was glad that they kept going, but I got back up and it was all good. But oh my gosh, it was so embarrassing, and it still sticks in my mind. It was so long ago. Like I feel like, man, that was I don't remember what year that was, but that was a while ago, and it still sticks in my brain. So yeah, that's one of the disastrous road stories I can share. I'm sure there's others. I know there's others.
Oh, there's bound to be. I guarantee we hang up later and you'll think of like 1,000.
Yeah, they'll all flood in at the same time. Yeah, I can't think of anything else at the moment.
Man, I tell you, heels on stage, when I think about that, and obviously I don't personally wear heels, but when I think of bands like Kiss, like, have you ever watched any early like 70s footage, or early footage of Kiss? It's usually from like the mid to late 70s, where they're in like these platform boots and they are jumping around like freaking madmen.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it hurts my feet.
Wow. And well, I mean, you think of Prince. I mean, Prince had all those hip issues because of the platform and the dancing and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, it blows my mind to think that like some of these glam rockers, I'm not saying it's, obviously anybody, but some of these like glam rock guys back in the day, they were like big buff dudes wearing these like 10-inch heels, and you go like, Jesus, dude,
it's impressive.
Yeah, it really is,
Yeah, it's a calf workout for like a 90-minute set,
Yeah, and then you take into account how many stages are unstable, and you add heels to that. It's not. It's almost like a health hazard. There's a health and safety hazard coming on there.
For sure, it's a total stunt. Absolutely.
All right, let's change path here a little bit. Let's talk about your songwriting. Yeah. What's your writing process like? And talk to me a little bit about your process in regards to, do you create within your band setting, or do you create away from the band and then take the song to the band? And not to make it too long-winded of a question, but let's say you go with the latter and you decide, I'm going to write this song within the band. Mm-hmm. Without trying to get too much into your personal business here, how do you go about splitting rights on this, both mastering and publishing? Because I know that this is kind of different for everybody and different band. What's your process?
Yeah, so typically I write all of my own stuff, and then I'll take it to the band after it's released and say, or a little bit before it's released, and say, learn this. That's actually how it's been up until like 2 weeks ago. I started writing with my bass player, Tim, because he is genius at writing drum parts, like using like MIDI keyboards, because I don't have my drum set up right now in the studio. And it's been a game changer, because like I was programming the drums, but I'm not a drummer, so I don't think like a drummer. And I wish I did, because I think it's awesome and it's literally a super skill. But having him come in and do these drums, and even like we're bouncing more ideas back and forth, and I'm finding it's one of my favorite writing environments I've ever been in. Like, I've co-written with people before, like a lot of people before, and actually none of those songs have come out yet, but I've co-written with them, and it felt fine, but it wasn't like, wow, there's like sparks flying everywhere, and like there's like crazy things going on, and like we're screaming because we're so excited, and there's that there's just a total different energy in the room. And that's how it's been with Tim. So we are actually, as far as splits go, we are splitting things 50-50 for the most part. There's some songs that will probably change our splits, and we're really good about talking openly about, hey, I think I should get 45, or I should get this much, or it's really, really great to be able to openly talk about that and not kind of shy away from that. And then I'm trying to remember what else. I forgot the other parts.
No, you pretty much covered it,
I haven't had my caffeine today.
I always think it's super interesting to talk about that. And I know that like anybody who's listened to like maybe more than 10 episodes of this podcast probably goes, this dude always asks that same question. But it's like,
it's a good question.
Well, it's so important, because like, I do a lot of co-writes, and I'm super happy and blessed to say that I can do that. But some people never want to talk about that. And it's like, you'll finish a song and then suddenly they'll be like, well, cool, so I wrote that. And you'd be like, did you though? Because you really didn't. And then like, then it's awkward. Whereas if you just, in my opinion and my sort of the way things have gone for me, if you just start the conversation with, okay, how about before we even work on anything, how do you want to do this? It's that simple.
Exactly. Yeah. Starting with the bass. Totally.
You know, it's
It
like
makes
at
a
least you know
difference.
where you're coming from versus like it's the worst when you've created something that's super cool and you know it's going to be great. And then suddenly like one person decides that basically they're just going to be a greedy bastard, you know, and you go
Yeah.
like, well, I just don't care about this song anymore. You know,
Mhm.
it's a crappy feeling, man.
Yeah. To me, I think sometimes you like splits are also a way to preserve relationships
Yeah,
and like work relationships. So maybe you did write, 70% of that song, but you feel that you really want to work with this person again. It may be more fair to take a 50-50 split, if you want to preserve relationships. Not always, but it's also like a form of like, hey, I really respect you and I want to keep this up. If we just do a 50-50, is that cool? I've been in situations like that, and I wasn't offended. I was like, we both put in a ton of effort on this, and maybe, yeah, I did vocals, guitar, bass, and then you only did drums, but those drums made a huge difference in the
yeah.
song, and I really appreciate that in the effort you put in. So, it's about, preserving relationships too, and being able to openly talk about it. Yeah, I agree. That makes a big difference.
Very much so. And you know, something that I talk about to some of my friends, haven't really spoken about it on the podcast much, is like you've got to consider sweat equity. You
Yeah.
know, sometimes music's such a weird thing, you know, it's like you as the artist, you're probably putting in a bit more than everybody else. And I'm stereotyping, of course, for purpose of the example, but you're putting in a bit more, you're probably putting a bit more money in. You know,
Yeah.
you're the one taking care of all the social media, you're the one doing this, designing products. There's so many different assets and stuff created because you are the artist. And
Yes.
sometimes people think because of that, okay, well, this is all mine. And they don't seem to consider, well, okay, you might be doing all that, but that other dude behind you, he's on the road with you all the time and he never
Exactly.
complains. And that guy, he provides the rehearsal room and he never complains. Oh, and he's
Yeah.
always on time and he never complains. And he helps you carry gear and he never complains. And he didn't contribute much to that song, but you've got to consider these things. It's no different to, if you were in a position, and some people are, but if you're in a position that you can pay somebody a salary and go, okay, I'm going to pay you a retainer each month and you just be available for everything I need, and that's all you're going to be involved with, that's a different situation, you know?
Yep.
But like if you're trying to build this product up together, it's best to just treat the people that are trying to build that with you with some kind of, I don't even want to say respect, but some kind of, just show them that you appreciate them. You know, it's really simple. I'm not saying you got to give away like everything you own, but it does blow my mind how different that seems to be thought of across the board. You know,
100%. And I've seen artists like, because I think of myself as an artist, not a band.
Yeah.
But I have great backing musicians that, oh my gosh, like they're just, yeah. And I've seen artists like in similar situations that have backing bands treat their backing bands just like total garbage.
Oh yeah,
Like
see it all the time.
they won't know. There's no respect there. Everyone gets in. They don't talk to each other. They play the show. They go home. They don't help each other break down. None of that.
Yeah.
And I thought what my band did was like the norm. So seeing that was like a big like shock factor. I'm like, wow, like why do they still play with you if you're like total like butt crack, know?
Yeah.
like I don't get it, because like I try to show my band that I absolutely appreciate them, and like you said, like showing up time, that's a huge thing of it. Like they show up time to rehearsals, they come to rehearsals. Not like rehearsals, at least for me, I can't afford to do paid rehearsals right now where I'm at. So like they show up to rehearsals for free, but they get paid for shows, but they show up to rehearsals for free. Like, and I am so grateful for that. And obviously, if they're doing all of this, they believe in the project, whether it's in my name or it's a band name. It means so much. So I mean, I try to make sure that they know that I really do appreciate them, and I put them on my social media, and I try to tell people about them and to check out some of their solo stuff. But yeah, they're fantastic, and I never want to take that for granted.
That's amazing, man. Just value. Yeah. Value's the word I should have used earlier.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Showing value. All right, I want to talk about two of your songs, but I don't want to spend too much time because I want to respect your time. Oops, I hit my mic stand. My bad. So I was listening to a bunch of your music this morning, and all great, really cool stuff. But I wanted to ask about two things because I think if I perceive them how I am hoping, that I think they might be relatable to this conversation. So, first song, Everybody.
Yes.
Is that song about the music industry?
Yes, 100%.
Woohoo! Okay, so talk to us a little bit about that, because the narrative there sounds as though a lot of people kind of see that you're doing quite well and that success is kind of already there and it's probably going to get bigger. And it sounded to me as though you got a lot of different people wanting their piece of the pie and you just kind of want to be playing your guitar. That's kind of the vibe I got.
Absolutely. Yeah. At that time too, I think that was on my third album. Yeah. For that song, when I wrote that originally, I was feeling really overwhelmed because there's like, as an independent artist, you have to do like we just talked about, you have to do so many things yourself, like merch design, social media, responding to comments, talking to fans, and like none of it's like, oh, I have to do this. Like it's awesome, but there's so many things you have to do at once, and keep on top of like by yourself. And like my mom was awesome because she helped manage some of my Facebook messages when I was younger. But like now, like I mean, most of it's just by myself. So managing that was just crazy.
Yeah.
And it always felt like, oh, like everyone's saying, oh, you have to do this, you have to do this. And I know a lot of people feel that way, not even in the music industry, but just in life in general. It always feels like we have to be pulled in 10,000 different directions and we have to talk to everyone and cater to everyone. And, so they don't like hate you.
Yeah.
And you don't get a bad rep. I never want to be known as someone who's mean or like ignoring people and all of that. And at that time, I was so worried that I was going to be seen as that because I was falling behind on like some messages and like more like my Facebook page and everything was growing. And so more was being put on the list to do. And in this industry, like it's always great to be connecting with fans and talking to them. So I was doing that a lot, but I just felt like I wasn't doing it enough, which is still like I guess an individual like mental thing. But that song kind of stemmed from that. And the industry too. But I mean, it plays a big role in all the things that we have to do as independent artists.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I felt. So and I even then, like trying to keep up with friends too. I think when I wrote that, I was definitely drifting away from a lot of my like high school friends and just friends in general. Like I think I don't have a lot of friends now. Most of my friends are like my band members.
Yeah.
And,
well, that's how it works.
Musicians and stuff, but it's like close friends, like it really shrunk. So I felt like, damn, like I can't even like connect with my friends as much as I wanted to. But yeah, I wrote that song because of that, and I think a lot of people could relate to that too. So
totally.
Yeah.
And just to go on the friend thing, and I'm saying this just because I'm older than you, and don't take this in a condescending way, but what you'll realize is you're trying to chase a dream that only 1% of the world actually make money as professional musicians. So it's a super, super hard vocation. Anyone who thinks it's easy is completely wrong. I don't care if that makes me sound a bit dickish to say. It's a hard career.
No, it is.
And what you'll see, and it sounds like you already have, is because you're trying to chase this dream where the average person goes and gets a job, not to say that they hate that job, but they get a 9-to-5 kind of job, and they fall into these typical, what we'll call typical situations. They work Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, they have a social life, this and that. We don't really have social lives. I find it funny. I always see people post these things, go, yay, it's the weekend. And I'm always thinking, weekend? I haven't had a weekend in like 25 years. What you talking about,
Exactly, because we work weekends a lot too.
It's the biggest time for us to work, and so it's like, and like you'll end up missing like these really important things. You miss weddings and anniversaries and birthdays and Christmases and all these things, and it's not a personal thing. So if anyone's listening to this, think like, and maybe aren't musicians, but just listen for the entertainment value, like it's really not a personal thing. We have to make money and try and get ahead in our own lives too. So like, we're not trying to miss all your personal things. It's just the way it goes,
exactly. I mean, I've had many relationships fail because of that, and they didn't understand that, like, oh, please come to this frat party on Saturday. Well, I am working Saturday. I'm gone Saturday, and
Yeah.
all of that. Nothing ever worked out because it was such a different lifestyle, than it's basically long distance. Even if you're in the same city with someone, whether it's a friendship or a relationship, it's always going to be like a simulated long distance relationship because you have touring and being on the road, and even if like you have to make your own deadlines too. So
Yeah.
yeah, you may have 2 weeks free, but those 2 weeks, you set aside because you really want to get that album done. You
Yeah.
have to get that album done, and you can't be like going out every night and partying because you scheduled that time to work. And that's the thing, like there's, like I said, there's no regulations in this industry, so it's not like a 9 to 5. There's no like rules. There's a lot of all kinds of things that could be taken different ways, but like we make our own schedules, which usually those schedules are crazy as heck because we're setting our own deadlines, like, oh, by this year I want to be this big and have this many fans and I want to have this many albums out. And that puts like a lot of strain on schedules and weeks and days. And yeah.
Completely. And just to add to that for 1 second, I think another thing that often gets overlooked is because you're gigging at nighttime, people think you just sleep all day. And while a lot of musicians do just sleep all day and do a bunch of other things that maybe they stereotype us all with, but it's like when you're trying to be an artist and you're writing and recording and practicing and working on social media content and that's a full-time job. So you're doing this full-time job all day and then you go play every night. It's like to have a social life is super hard, which leads me to the next song, Friend Zone.
Yes.
I'm guessing that, well, I mean, that song could have a few different avenues, but I wanted to ask about it mostly because having relationships, whether they're friendship or personal relationships, is so hard. And now we kind of just touched on that, but is that where that song's coming from?
Absolutely. Yeah. I was really fed up with that one. Was romantic relationships, and I was so fed up with them. I was kind of like, it was a thing where if I put someone in the friend zone, like just that's what I guess what it's called. But like if I just say I want to be friends, which was with a lot of different people at that time, I just want to be friends. I just want to be friends, nothing more. Then I got made the bad guy, and I was so upset that like, okay, well if I friend zone people, then I'm the bad guy. Like if I say no, or if I don't want to do something, or I don't want to be with someone, then I'm terrible. So I should have said yes, question mark. Like that's kind of, I was really upset about that like I couldn't just be like, no, that I don't want to do that, and like they'd be okay with it. It was always like me being the villain. So I felt I was just really frustrated. So I wrote that song because of that. And yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, Erin, if you were starting out now, knowing what you know, what would you do differently, if anything? Or likewise, what would you sort of tell listeners who are trying to get into music and trying to get out there on how to get out there, knowing what you know now?
Yeah. I would have learned how to use my DAW software like way, way earlier than I did. I mean, I still started early, but oh my gosh, if I would have known how to use Pro Tools when I was like 14, the amount of money I would have saved on albums and, the amount of time I could have put in by writing and recording at the same time would have been magical. So I definitely recommend like learn a DAW software, whether it's Logic, it's Reaper, it's like Pro Tools, Ableton, whatever. Learn any of them and use it all the time. And I know like some people like will write songs like with an acoustic guitar and like the vocals and then go record it. I personally love like recording and writing at the same time. So like I'm, like, okay, I'm coming up the drum part. Cool. Got that recorded. Because I don't have a band behind me all the time to be able to, write stuff for, hey, try this while I write this over it. So it's like having, as many tools at your fingertips as possible. So I definitely would have learned that earlier because I think that would have helped further along ideas and all that. But yeah. And then two, if you're just starting out, like go to as many open jams and open mics as possible and like just network. Because I know a lot of artists that don't want to do that because they're either shy or they think they're too good for it. But like, oh my gosh, that was the best thing I did when I was younger, because I got to meet people, and yeah, most of them were like 3 times my age, but I had so much respect for them because they taught me so many lessons, like not just like, theory and theoretical and like music things, but actually like how to run a band and what it's like to manage people and how to have that skill of running a band, because that takes a lot of effort and a lot of certain skills that not a lot of people have. It's just like being a manager at like a corporation or something.
Yeah.
It's very similar, because you have to take account for people's feelings, their lives. Like you're in charge of some of their incomes, like you're providing that to them. So yeah, so that taught me a lot, like going to open mics and open jams, because I met a lot of people. That's how I put together some of my first bands. That's how I got in bands. I was playing in a classic rock band when I was really young, and that taught me a lot. And I was playing in a bluegrass band when I was young at the same time, and that taught me a lot. So it was just cool to network with different genres too, and different people in different genres. So it just doing that and networking with as many people as possible is awesome. It's so important.
I agree.
Yeah.
All right, Erin, last question.
Yeah.
People always seem to get a little thrown, so if you need a second or so, by all means, okay?
Okay.
What do you think has been the best piece of advice you've ever received in regards to your musical career?
Let me think about that. There's been a lot of good things, a lot of good pieces of advice. I think the best piece of advice, and I can't remember who told me this, but I think it's been a lot of different people in a lot of different ways, but they're saying the same thing, is just keep moving forward in what you're doing. Like try not to, like we said, like try not to imitate other people too much. Like definitely take inspiration from them, but sometimes the best things that come out are like super raw, and like maintaining that rawness is what makes you you and what makes you like your sound. So yeah, I think just trying not to be someone else. And it sounds really cliche, but like it's a good reminder every now and then to go back to that. I think that's been the best advice. And like also like fake it till you make it. Like that's been good advice too. Because like it's so easy to get wrapped up in like, oh, like I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that, but like focus on what you are doing and be confident in that. Like you're doing that, you're playing guitar, that's awesome, you're awesome. Just take that and run with it versus, oh, I'm not doing this,
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's awesome. Erin, thank you so much for your time. I'll put links to your music in the show notes. Everybody should totally go and check Erin out. She's awesome. And I hope to see you out there, man. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah. Heck yeah, I'm looking forward to co-writing this song with you too.
Me too. Yeah, we didn't even talk about that. Next time, we'll get you on again. Woohoo! All right, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
Alrighty, there we have it. Erin Coburn, everybody. I would like to thank Erin for her time. I would like to thank each and every single one of you for your time. Thanks for continuing to listen to this, guys and girls, and any identification pronoun that you would like to identify as is okay with me. I appreciate you all, and as usual, please leave us a rating or review. I appreciate it. Basically, I'm all about the appreciation today, ladies and gentlemen. Today and every day. Because without appreciation, you got nothing. Nothing. All right, I'll talk to you all next time. Rock and roll. Keep it real. Peace.